Yeah, he's still flying around, but he'll never have children.
Oh, fuck.
What's the best part of this story?
Welcome back, Warner fam. Today, we're diving into the 2025 horror drama Opus. Keep your eyes wide open and stay safe as we unravel this eerie tale. Here we go. The movie kicks off with a young lady named Ariel. She's a journalist at a magazine company, sitting in a board meeting, sharing her big idea for a story about a famous person. Her boss seems intrigued, but then, plot twist. He gives the assignment to someone else. Ariel's heart drops. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially after all the hard work she's put in over the years. Later, Ariel meets her boyfriend Mark at a bar. She's frustrated, venting about how, after 3 years at the company, she still hasn't written a single big story. Mark, trying to cheer her up, jokes about an old article she wrote that he thought was decent, but Ariel's mood is still down. She confesses she's always dreamed of being a writer, one who could pour her soul into her work, expressing what she feels and loves. But Mark's not buying it. He tells her no one cares about those kinds of stories. According to him, Ariel's life is way too perfect to ever make a real impact. No crises, no heartbreak, just a nice, easy life. He points out that her parents are happily married, she works at a well-known company, and she went to a fancy university. What's there to write about? Her life is just, well, boring. Ariel doesn't say much after that. She just keeps eating her food, trying to avoid the sting of his words. And so begins Ariel's journey, one that will push her past the limits of what she knows about life, and maybe even herself. Later at work, the buzz spreads like wildfire. One of the legendary pop superstars is back. The whole office is in a frenzy, but Stan, the director, brushes it off, claiming that even if the pop star is back, it's nothing new. A publicist would have already made it official online. But just as he says that, one of the colleagues shows a video of the very publicist confirming the superstar's return and announcing that he'll be performing only for a select group this weekend before revealing his new album to the world. Stan's among the lucky few who get an invite. But then, the twist, the shocker happens. While the team prepares for the next big report, a lady strolls in, casually calling out to Ariel, telling her that she's been invited to Moretti's exclusive album listening party too. The room falls silent, everyone's stunned. When Ariel gets home, the whispers continue. She spends hours listening to stories and rumors about the pop star's lifestyle, his mysterious daily routines, and the strange air of secrecy around him. There's something unsettling about all the hype, but she can't stop herself from being drawn in. The next day, Ariel and the other invited guests, TV hosts, influencers, writers, and reporters, pile into a bus, heading to Moretti's mysterious mansion. As they cruise along, Ariel spots a strange chapter in Moretti's book. It says, "Teach them young and the world will be yours." She tries to point it out to Stan, but he's too busy to care. "Just take notes," he says, barely looking up. "Write down anything weird and I'll check it after the event." When they finally reach Moretti's massive compound, the scene is chaotic. A crowd of diehard fans waits outside, all hoping for a chance to glimpse the pop star. But their hopes are crushed as they head toward the gates. Inside, a group of people wearing strange blue robes greets them. They call themselves the Levelists, and they demand everyone hand over their phones before entering the mansion. The phones will be returned after the event. As if that wasn't odd enough, they're also given a vase as a souvenir. No one knows what it means, but it's starting to feel more like a cult than a concert. Somewhere in a dimly lit room, Moretti is preparing to meet his guests, surrounded by his workers who make sure everything is perfect. When he steps into the hall, the crowd rises to their feet, watching his every move with awe. He makes his way to the podium and with a smile begins sharing a story about his rise to fame. The audience hangs on his every word, still standing, mesmerized by his presence. After his speech, a little girl catches Ariel's attention. She's curious about Ariel being from New York and invites her to sit next to her. At first, they're offered bread, and everyone is supposed to take a bite. By the time the bread reaches Ariel, there's barely a morsel left, just a little bit of saliva from everyone else. Ariel, awkwardly, takes the tiny bite and passes it on, not sure if she should laugh or just keep it together. Next, the guests are treated to luxurious, mouth-watering seafood. As Ariel tries to make sense of the strange event, she talks to York, one of the workers. She asks him what's really going on here. York reveals that he used to be a high school music teacher before Moretti called him out of the blue, inviting him to work for him. Without hesitation, he packed his bags and boarded the plane. Now he teaches music theory to the children at the compound. "We teach them young," York says. Ariel's mind flashes back to that sentence in Moretti's book. Confused, she asks him more questions, but York only explains that they are Levelists, a group who believe in protecting and nurturing those who are divinely burdened with creativity. Ariel's head spins with confusion. Before Before she can ask more, Moretti approaches her from behind, calmly introduces himself and walks away, leaving Ariel even more puzzled than before. After the meal, one of the levelists stands up and makes an announcement. Everyone will be assigned a concierge, they say, someone to take care of your every need. Along with this, each guest receives a card with a schedule of everything they'll be doing during their stay. Ariel, curious, heads to her room, eager to unwind. As she gets ready to open her computer, she finds another card on her bed. It simply says, "Your computer has been taken to ensure the integrity of your experience." Confused, she puts the card down and moves on. But just then, she hears a strange popping noise outside her door. When she peeks through the peephole, she sees her assigned concierge sitting right in front of her door. He's calmly waiting. Ariel, now a little unsettled, notices a radio on the table. It plays Moretti's music, a haunting melody that fills the air. She starts listening, but what she doesn't realize is that every move is being watched. Secret cameras hidden by Moretti and his levelists are recording everything. Meanwhile, in another room, one of the other guests is receiving a soothing body massage. He looks relaxed at first, but then his eyes widen in fear. He notices multiple feet surrounding him and tries to get up. Before he can, he's forcefully pushed back down. Then, the sound of a saw tearing through flesh echoes in the room. His screams fill the air as the horror unfolds. The next morning, Ariel gets ready for her usual jog, hoping to clear her mind. But when she opens her door, she's shocked to see the concierge standing right in front of her. She tells her she's going for a jog, and the lady silently follows. It feels strange, but Ariel decides to continue, trying to shake off the awkwardness. As she jogs through the field, she spots various artists practicing their crafts, some painting, some sculpting, others creating strange music. It all feels like one big performance, and Ariel can't help but feel like she's part of it. Eventually, she runs into Moretti. She asks him about her findings, expressing that it seems like they're not practicing art, but some sort of weird religion. Instead of answering her directly, Moretti leads her to a shelter where a man is repeatedly opening seashells. He explains that this strange activity is part of their practice. The man is searching for a devoted believer, someone who engages in what they call diving, a process where they open hundreds of seashells to find a single natural pearl. Ariel, confused, asks why they're so obsessed with finding one pearl out of so many empty shells. Moretti smiles and explains that the meditation of the level teaches them that the value of a single pearl is greater than all the empty shells combined. True balance, he says, doesn't come from believing all things are equal, but from accepting that not all things are equal, and that's where the real understanding lies. Later, a group of levelists enters Ariel's room, holding some clothes they've made just for her. Before you wear them, one of them says, you must shave your body hair, as Moretti requires this from all his guests. At first, Ariel refuses, saying it's an invasion of her privacy. But after a brief, tense argument, she finally agrees to go along with it. In an unexpected twist, Ariel finds herself inside a grand ballroom, surrounded by all the other guests. As the shaving happens, the room feels cold and impersonal. Then, as she's getting ready, the levelists step back and give her some space. Moretti enters, and the room goes silent as everyone stands in admiration. Moretti begins performing one of his songs from his latest album, dancing gracefully and playing with the guests. He moves through the crowd, his every gesture enchanting them for several minutes. But then, something strange happens. One of the guests starts coughing uncontrollably. The sound grows louder, and soon it's hard to ignore. Moretti immediately stops the performance, his face tight with concern. "Take her away," he orders, signaling for the guest to be quickly taken care of while the others stand frozen, not sure what to think. While taking a look at some of the paintings created by one of the levelists, Moretti pulls Stan aside. He starts to explain, for a level individual, they believe themselves to be gods. Moretti says with a mysterious smile, they think they hold the divine power to create. The truth is, anyone can be a god, if they can manifest their imagination. Stan nods slowly, trying to understand the bizarre belief system, but Ariel isn't convinced. She pulls him aside and tells him that she wants to write an article about the levelists. She believes everything they do looks more like a cult than anything else, but Stan just shrugs it off, reminding her that the focus should be on Moretti and his music. "Forget everything else," he says sharply. "The main story is about Moretti. Nothing else matters." Just as Ariel is about to argue, something unexpected happens. Out of nowhere, an arrow strikes Stan, and he falls to the ground with a thud. Everyone gasps in shock, and for a moment, the room is frozen in time. Minutes later, a group of children walk in, looking embarrassed. They apologize profusely, saying it was just a slippery mistake. But something feels off, like they knew too much about the accident before it even happened. Ariel watches, uneasy, wondering if the levelists are hiding more than they've let on. Ariel's heart pounds in her chest as she watches the scene unfold around her. She feels a cold cold chill creeping down her spine, and the feeling only grows stronger as she tries to ignore the knot in her stomach. The group decides to celebrate together, but Ariel can't shake the feeling that something is horribly wrong. She pulls Stan aside, her voice shaky. "Maybe what happened to you wasn't an accident," she says quietly, her words hanging in the air like a dark cloud. "It's been hours now, and 2 of our group members are missing. We can't get in touch with them or our phones." Stan brushes it off, but one of the women in the group laughs and cuts in. "Ariel, you're just overthinking it. Maybe you need a drink." She waves it off and then adds, "Remember when Stan and Moretti hated each other? Stan trashed Moretti's album once, gave it a terrible review." Ariel feels a knot in her stomach tighten even more. She can't convince them. They think she's losing it. So, feeling isolated, Ariel leaves the group and walks away from the noisy crowd. That evening, Moretti enters the dining hall with a dramatic flair, stepping onto the stage. He looks out at the crowd, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "You're upset because I haven't been on stage," he announces, his voice echoing through the room as if the crowd needed his presence to feel complete. He begins his performance, his movements almost too smooth, too practiced. The crowd goes wild, but Ariel just stands there, her instincts screaming that something is very wrong. The next morning, Ariel is frantic. She knows she needs to call her boyfriend, but her phone is still gone, so she quietly sneaks out of her room, avoiding her concierge, and climbs through the window. She thinks she's being careful, but as soon as she starts moving, a knock on the door sends a chill down her spine. When no one answers, the levelists break the door down, only to find that Ariel is missing. They immediately spring into action, running after her. Ariel darts through the compound, her heart racing. She stumbles into an old stash house, filled with creepy stuffed animals that are preserved in glass cases. As she looks around, she finds something even more unsettling. Wooden phones, like they were made as eerie replacements for the real ones. Then she spots a headless body lying on the floor next to her. The sight makes her stomach turn, but she doesn't have time to process it. The levelists are closing in on her. In a panic, Ariel bolts, rushing back to her room. She throws her things into a bag, determined to leave this nightmare behind. Just as she's about to step out, Moretti blocks her path. "What's wrong?" he asks, his voice calm, like nothing is out of the ordinary. Ariel demands to know where the other guests are, but Moretti just gives her a vague response. "The bus that will take you into the city isn't available yet." His words don't make sense, and Ariel feels more trapped than ever. Moretti suggests that Ariel wait for the bus in comfort. He offers that she sit near the window, watching the final performance, so when the bus arrives, she can leave just as she's been hoping. Ariel agrees, although she's still uneasy. During the performance, the show takes a strange turn. A group of puppeteered mice appears on stage, each one acting like a reporter, journalist, or influencer. They surround a music star in the middle, who represents Moretti. The story they perform is about these characters trying to break the spirit of the musician. They ask her uncomfortable questions about her past, questions they plan to twist into a sensational report, using it to boost their own selfish agendas. Ariel watches, horrified by the twisted nature of the performance. It's like they're mocking the very thing she fears, the idea that people will use others just to climb higher themselves. Suddenly, Ariel's chair begins to move on its own, and everyone gasps in shock. Out of nowhere, one of the guests bursts out from inside the material of the chair, revealing that her mouth is stuffed and her eyes have gone completely blind. She stumbles around, clearly in agony. As Moretti steps closer to touch her face, some of the goo from her eyes pops onto his face. He screams in disgust, his face covered in the sticky mess. The group tries to escape, but they're quickly grabbed and forced back into their seats. Stan, desperate, tries to make another break for it, but he's shoved hard, crashing into a glass, his head slamming against it. The glass shatters. A woman attempts to run as well, but she's grabbed by the hair, and the force pulls so hard that part of her scalp starts to tear away, her screams echoing in the room. It's chaos. The horror is unfolding, and it feels like they're all trapped in some kind of nightmare that's just getting worse. After the chaos, Moretti steps forward with a twisted grin and begins to share another story. He declares that he's a creator, and everyone in the room is just a peasant who dared to play with his ego 30 years ago. Now, they're all about to pay the price for messing with him. In the middle of his speech, Stan suddenly gets stabbed, his body collapsing to the ground. As the horror escalates, one of the other guests tries to flee, but a levelist grabs her and, without hesitation, stabs her to death. The room fills with screams and panic. Ariel sees a chance to escape. She dashes for the window and crawls through it, her heart racing as she hides in a bathtub, trying to catch her breath. But just as she thinks she's safe, one of the concierges finds her. Before she can react, he attacks her from behind. A struggle ensues, and after a brief fight, Ariel is knocked unconscious, her vision going dark as everything fades to black. Ariel suddenly wakes up, her hands tightly tied to a chair. She's surrounded by a strange and unsettling scene as Moretti stands in front of her, raising a glass for a toast to their journey so far. The air is thick with tension, and Ariel knows something is terribly wrong. One of the levelists approaches, pretending to offer Ariel a wine glass, but Ariel is quick to think on her feet. She tells the levelist to push her glass toward her, and as the levelist does, Ariel seizes the chance. The levelist cuts her loose, and Ariel takes off, rushing toward the compound's exit in search of help. As she escapes, some coal from a nearby fire falls on Moretti, igniting his clothes in flames. The chaos distracts the levelists, giving Ariel the perfect opening to grab an ATV. But her freedom is short-lived as one of the concierges chases after her. Ariel speeds through the compound, dodging obstacles, but the pursuit doesn't end. Finally, she bursts through the compound gates, but not before running into one of Moretti's die-hard fans. She desperately asks for help, hoping he'll let her use his car to escape, but he's too lost in his own world, staring at a poster of Moretti. With no time to lose, Ariel knocks the fan out cold and takes his car, speeding away from the compound and toward whatever safety she can find. 2 years later, Ariel has become famous for writing a book that reveals the terrifying truth about Moretti and his cult, including the murders of 5 important people during the event. It turns out that after the tragedy, Ariel returned to the compound with the police and found Moretti sitting calmly at his piano, surrounded by the bodies of his victims. Ariel's phone rings, and it's Moretti calling from prison. He congratulates her on the millions of copies her book has sold. Ariel, with a mix of anger and disbelief, asks him about all the people he has killed. Moretti responds coolly, explaining that he only murdered the 5 people they saw on that day. The rest of the levelists, he claims, are traveling the world, spreading pure creativity to inspire the next generation of creators and godlike beings that people can look up to and worship. Before Ariel was invited to his compound, Moretti knew she wasn't corrupted by success. He had read one of her articles and found it interesting, which is why he invited her to his event in the first place. Now, he says, his work is done. She's written a viral book about it. As the conversation ends, he thanks her and leaves, leaving Ariel to process everything she's just learned. If you could escape a crazy event like Ariel did, what's the first thing you'd do once you're free? Let me know in the comments. So if you liked this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Warner Movie Recaps.